Hello, welcome to the EGX Rezzed developer sessions. So at the end of the session, there will probably be a bit of time for Q&A. If you want to ask a question, there's a microphone in the middle aisle in the room, so just queue up at the mic and we'll get through as many questions as possible. So please give a warm welcome to Red Thread Games, who are here to show you Dreamfall Chapters.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. We are Red Thread Games. I am Ragnar Tornquist, and
I'm Martin Brusgaard.
And we're all the way from Oslo today to show you guys some really cool stuff that we're working on. I gave our little presentation a name, Playing with Narrative, because that's what we do. We play with narrative. We do a lot of storytelling. Our games are all about the story, and we're going to show you a lot of that, how we tell the story through the worlds, through narration, through characters, through atmosphere. We're going to show you red threads through it all. Yeah, we're going to show you stuff from both Dreamfall Chapters and from our upcoming first-person survival horror adventure game, Draugen. We're going to premiere the first trailer here at Rezzed to you guys, so you'll be the first in the world to see it. So we're really excited about that. So Dreamfall Chapters is a game we've been working on for about a year now. It was funded by Kickstarter, and I'm sure there are some people here who pledged. I see some hands coming up. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
We really appreciate it, so I hope the extended wait for the next update is going to be worth it today. We get to see a lot of new stuff. We've also been lucky to live in a socialist state where people get money to make games, so we're also partly funded by the Norwegian Film Institute, so thanks to those guys. The story of Dreamfall, for those of you who don't know it, this is a sequel to a game called Dreamfall. This game is called Dreamfall Chapters, and Dreamfall was a sequel to The Longest Journey, and this is part of the Longest Journey saga. It gets complicated. But this game can be played without knowing the story or having played the previous game. The game is set in two worlds, our world in the future and a magical fantasy world called Arcadia. And the story is all about something disturbing dreams, and we'll see that a little bit later with the in-game footage we're going to show. So concept art from the game. We spent a lot of time creating worlds, building worlds, designing characters, narrative and narration through the world and through the characters, and we have some fantastic concept artists who are able to really bring these characters to life. And we're going to show you a few of these characters and models in game to see how we put it all together, and this is the first time we show this to anyone. So this is Europolis, one of the locations in the game, and this is Zoe, one of our three lead characters, playable characters. This is alpha footage, so this is not finished, but it shows a little bit of what we're doing in terms of the scope of the world, trying to create this cyberpunk, Blade Runner, neon-lit future world for the science fiction part of it. And again, we can see some of the concepts here, some of the barges here, the flying ships. And the great part is we're doing this with a team of 14, 15 people, and this is, you know, the future. Technologies like Unity, Kickstarter money funding us, being able to do what we love and doing it with a small team, for us that's a fantastic experience.
Yeah, we're trying to create these stories that people can immerse themselves in, and in order to do that, the story needs to be believable, and in order for the story to be believable, the world needs to be believable as well. Even though this is fiction, it needs to feel real. So we do a lot of storytelling in the environments, and you know, like any good adventure game, you can look at a lot of stuff, you can touch it, you can get the characters' views on it, you can talk to all the characters in the streets. You can really sort of dig into the story, and the Europolis environment that we're showing here is massive, and you can wonder about that for quite a while and just sort of live and experience this environment. Tons of little things you can touch and pick up and look at and investigate, like in real life.
Yeah. And the game sort of narrows in at certain points, and we'll show you a little bit of that, and it opens up at certain points to give you a lot of variety in terms of how the world works. The other world, Arcadia, is more of a sort of a magical fantasy world. I guess it's very much inspired by fairy tales. It has darkness as well. It has warmth. It's a totally different feel. We're not going to show you a lot of stuff from that today. This is a screenshot, in-game screenshot from Arcadia. So things are looking pretty cool there too. And there's a totally different vibe, more sort of, I don't know, more organic, obviously, than Europolis. More lived into in terms of sort of, you know, all the textures are worn down and all the characters have have history and are aged in a way.
Yeah. Every little asset has a history to it.
So we're going to show you a little bit of video footage from Arcadia. This is stuff that we have released before, but for those of you who haven't seen it, this also shows our decision point system. And decision points in the game are ways for players to shape the story. And as a participant in the story of Dreamfall Chapters, you do get to shape the story quite a bit. There are tons of these decision points, and there are tons of ways to change the way the story plays out. The choices you make in the character dialogues, and as you can see here, we have a system where you can listen to the character's inner thoughts before you make a choice. So Kian here, you hear his inner voice as he sort of debates which of these options to use. And this shapes the story. But to a much greater degree, the decision points, actions that you take in the world shape the story, and we'll show you a little bit of that in a second.
And often the choices that you have aren't right or wrong, they're often in the gray area. We really want to create these sort of talking points among people, like why did you choose that and why do I choose this, and stuff like that.
Yeah. So this guy, this prisoner who's killed this guard, he's dying, so he wants Kian to put him out of his misery before the guards find him, because they will make him suffer, they'll torture him. So you have a choice here. You can do what he wants and kill him, or you can leave him. And if you leave him, you're going to hear the consequence of that later on. And when we use the shiv on the prisoner, we'll get the decision point UI up. And what we're doing here is also connecting players. So you'll be able to see what everybody else playing the game has chosen. You could choose to look at this before the decision, after the decision, or not at all. It's your choice. And you can also see what your friends have chosen. So you can see that 54% of the world chose to mercy kill the prisoner, and 5 of your friends. So we're going to go ahead and, follow the majority.
Ease your journey into the next life.
And basically then this plays out, and it has some consequence to the story going forward. You'll be able to talk to this prisoner's family afterwards and inform them about what you had to do and what happened. And the characters will react to it as well. So if we walk back to our companion here, he will in this case say,
It had to be done, Kian. You made the right choice.
But like Martin said, there really aren't any right choices. Certain characters might feel that way, but it doesn't mean that it was necessarily the only or the right choice. That's really up to the player to decide.
As Ragnar said, it's important that, he said the choices that you make inform the story, and it's super important for us to show to the player that you are actually informing the story. So when you are making a choice, it might not be obvious what just happened in the game based on your choices, but you'll see it later on, and we will show you very often what your choice's consequence was, in order to sort of keep you in the loop, so that you know what's going on and the consequence of your actions.
Yeah. We're going to debut a slice of the gameplay in 1 minute, showing actually the opening of Dreamfall Chapters for the first time to people outside our office. So you're going to get to see that. But first I just want to point some attention to, oops, not this, but to our team. I'd like to have an applause for the guys who worked so hard the last couple of weeks to get this demo done. And we're really excited to show it. They're probably watching now. Hi guys. So let's switch over to the demo. And Martin, you want to do a song and dance while I bring the demo up?
Nope.
Nope. But you dance
That's
so
for
well.
later, Ragnar. That's for later.
That's for tonight.
It sounded super erotic. I didn't mean for it to come out like that.
Yes, you did. All right,
Oh,
so we
this is
can
going
bring
well.
it up now. And Martin wants to be the one playing today, so I'm going to give him the chance to grab the controller. Martin is much more comfortable playing with a mouse and keyboard.
Yeah. Big disclaimer: I'm not used to playing with the
With the joypad.
Don't
He
laugh.
sucks at playing with the joypad, just so you know. So this is going to be a catastrophe, but we need to give him this. It's important to him. So
Where's the
whenever you're
space
ready,
button?
you can bring down the lights a little bit more, maybe, so we can focus on this and less on us. All right.
Okay.
They say that every story has a beginning and an end. But that isn't always the case. Some stories simply stop. My name is Zoe Castillo. I'm dying. I've been in a coma for over a year. The doctors don't believe I'll ever wake up again. My mother did this to me. She put me here so that I wouldn't be able to tell my story, so that she could keep her secrets. It worked. The dreamer has been released. The world is addicted to dreams. To them, it's just entertainment. They have no idea what her device is really for. They don't know that someone is stealing their dreams, using them to reshape reality. So, if I'm in a coma, how can I be talking to you? The thing is, my body may be here, in a hospital, but my mind is at work. This is the story time. It's the place between, and it's my home now. This place where all stories begin and end, including mine.
So Martin is going to play this. We're going to not focus on the sound of this because we haven't implemented most of the voiceovers yet, so it's going to be pretty silent, but we'll do a running commentary. So Zoe Castillo is in this place called Storytime, and she spent the better part of a year there since the end of the previous game. And this sequence also enables new players to learn who Zoe is and what she's all about. So Martin is just going to explore this little location a little bit. So she's sort of trapped between life and death here, between the comatose state and the hereafter in a way. So you're going to take a little bit of a look around, and you can get descriptions on stuff, you can get the insight from the character, you can spend time exploring, or you can start heading straight into the action of doing Zoe's job in Storytime. And what she's doing is she is helping trapped dreamers, trapped souls or spirits in the Storytime. So we're going to see a couple of those scenarios. So this is the very beginning of the game. We showed everything from the get-go except one cinematic in the very beginning that we're not going to show you. And something just fell past us. So this is the first sort of dream that you're interacting with. And you're basically interacting with somebody who is falling. It's a very standard nightmare. But the thing that's happening here is that people are getting stuck in these nightmare loops, these dream loops, and they can't get out. And it's Zoe's job to help them. Are you going to be able to do it, Martin?
I hope so. Wait for it. Wait for it. Spam.
So Zoe is sort of helping these people get unstuck from their dreams and helping them return to the world of the waking. So we're going to skip a little bit through the dialogue here. So of course, you know, when you play the game, you can sit and listen to all the awesome actors doing this, but we just want to get to the next bit. So what we're trying to establish is Zoe is this kick-ass person in this dream world who has been able to control the way people interact with dreams, control who she is in this dream space, in this Storytime place. And it's a really important establishment of the character before she's returned to the world of the waking.
And for players who played the previous game, they know that Zoe, she's a dreamer, and she knows her ways around dreams. So this will be sort of familiar to them, but for new players, this also establishes her as obviously something she can control dreams in some way. Everything will be explained a bit more as you play the game, but it's just a nice sort of preparing the players for Zoe as having some sort of control over dreams.
So we're gonna jump on to the next dream scenario, where you'll interact with somebody else who's stuck in a nightmare, and a very typical nightmare. Fear of the dark. And this guy basically has to be led back into the light. He refuses to leave this pocket of light. He's stuck there, and he's been stuck there for quite a while, inside this dream again. And the story is that something is going on. Why are people getting stuck in these nightmares? Well, they're connected to this futuristic game console, in a way, called the Dream Machine. And this machine ostensibly gives you lucid dreams, you know, the best entertainment ever. But what it also does is that poisons people's dreams in some way. And people are getting stuck here. So, you know, as the story progresses in story time, we learn more about this, that there is this dream sickness. So Martin is just going to lead this guy straight out of the darkness. There is a mechanic here in that he has to be sort of reassured as you're walking, that, you know, to keep the light in him strong, but Martin will just make sure that his light is strong throughout.
Oh, I will.
He's not going to fail. He's just going to lead him to the light. And again, I mean, Dreamfall Chapters is an adventure game, but it's not it's not a hardcore puzzle game. There are puzzles in the game, and this is a lot easier than what comes later. But it's not point-and-click adventure game of the past. It's more of a narrative. We really want people to be able to have a challenge, but also to enjoy the narrative. That's really important to us.
Yeah, we can't really say that any of what we're doing now is a puzzle. It's more of an experience. There will be a lot harder puzzles in the game than this.
And it's more about the storytelling again, and that's what we want to do. We want to have the narrative, the narration through the worlds and through the gameplay we do.
Yeah.
And so we're trying to tell the story as we're doing these things, and make sure that there's a connection between the actions you do in the world and the story we're telling. So this guy passes into the light. So he reassures him. And we're again building the story of something is going on out there. So he's going to pass it, and we're going to go into the last dream scenario, which is yet another typical nightmare, and my favorite one. I remember having this dream back in the day. Always with the tentacles. I read way too much Lovecraft when I was 8 years old. It was basically a child who's afraid of what's in the closet, and really, who can blame her?
I would be scared of this.
So we have to find a way to make this go away, and for this little girl to be able to face her fears. And in this one, the player also has to make a choice. So what do people here want to do? Do you want to reassure her, or do you want to scare her? You want to use a scare tactic? Who wants to use a scare tactic? Go on, give it applause to people who want a scare tactic. Reassure? Who wants to reassure her? No, scare tactic wins. Yeah, we're going to scare her. So you know, this is a choice that also affects the way she relates to characters. In this case, it might not have huge ramifications, but some of these choices will have massive consequences for the story. So now Zoe has to find a way to unlock this closet and banish the darkness. And again, it's the beginning of the game. It's not super complicated. It's more about teaching people the mechanics and the tools they have in the game. So we're going to get a key, and there's also something else in the drawer, flashlight. Usually a good tool to banish darkness with, Martin, wouldn't you say?
It's inverted. Oh, it's fine.
Martin struggles with joypad controls. Just have patience with him.
Oh, no.
I think it's your first time playing with the well, at least in a long time.
It's second.
So we're going to try to use this to use this flashlight to burn the horror away.
Okay.
Because everybody knows
this is pretty cool.
Cthulhu hates flashlights. So we're going to burn this away and hopefully be able to let the little girl step through the closet. Although I have to say, I wouldn't be totally convinced with the tentacles vanishing and just, yeah, now it's okay to step through the closet. It's a gateway to another world. No, it's fine. There's no Cthulhu.
I flashed it with a flashlight. It has to be okay.
So we basically find a way to reassure her, to show her that it's safe, and she can return back into the world of the waking and the living. So Martin will just shuffle the girl through the cabinet.
I'm trying.
So again, it's a relatively simple puzzle, a relatively simple solution. Again, it's about the narrative, and that's what we're trying to do here. We're not trying to create a massively complex and massively difficult game. It will be challenging. There are times in this game where people have to use their heads and the tools around them, but for the most part, it's a game that is very much about the story. It's a 10 to 12 hour game. Like I said, you don't have to have played the previous games to enjoy this. We re-established all the characters. There's a lot of variety in the scenes, in what you get to experience. And we think people are really going to enjoy the story we created. We put a lot of care and attention into it, and I hope it shows. So, she passes through. GG. And as an introduction again, we're trying to make it seem like Zoe's really concerned about what's going on here. And in order to sort of find out what's going on, she has to talk to somebody. We're going to end the demo with that. She's going to head over to this character she's now called upon. A character called the Vagabond, who is sort of the lord of this realm, who controls story time. As we get close to him, we're going to finish up the demo. And fade that picture out. There we go. Thank you. So, that was our Dreamfall demo, so we can bring up the slides again. The game is coming out on Mac, also on Steambox and Linux. I'm sure there was going to be a question about that, so I want to reassure you now. On Mac, and it's going to come out on one unnamed next generation console. We haven't announced it yet, but it will be coming out on a next generation console. Just left a black bar there right now. I didn't put any transparency on it whatsoever, so you can just have to make an educated guess. Now we're going to end it all with showing you something really cool. The world premiere of the Draugen trailer. So Draugen is a first-person survival horror adventure set on the western coast of Norway in the 1920s. It's sort of like Gone Home meets Amnesia. It's H.P. Lovecraft meets Dostoevsky. It's a game about story. It's a game about mood and atmosphere. It's one of the concepts that we've shown from the game previously. The main character, on the bottom right, there's one of the gameplay mechanics in the game. I'm not going to talk about that. We're making this game for VR as well. And if we can have the lights down and the volume up, I'm going to show you guys the trailer. Oh, and we're going to go on Kickstarter. Almost forgot that.
We are all of us anchored to the past, drawn inexorably back into that maelstrom of wistfulness, fear, and regret, with no recourse to escape its monstrous grasp. We struggle, anguished and distressed, until we are at last pulled under and stripped of all that we are, all that we have been, and ever will be. The past holds no allegiances to tomorrow. The past is a vast, undulating ocean, ravenously hungry, never sated. And sooner or later, we all drown in it. The past is an ocean. Fathomless, menacing, unknowable. Tonight, the ocean comes for me. And the sea is calling. Let us go.
All right, so that's all we have for you guys, so I'm sure there's some questions. Bring them on.
Hey.
Hello.
You said with Dreamfall Chapters, the decisions the player makes is really important. So will that translate to Draugen, or in survival horror for this game, are we more at the mercy of the game's decisions?
That's a good question. I mean, you were going to answer. I saw you were about to answer. Answer.
Yeah. You're more in the hands of the game, but I don't know how much we're talking about the gameplay, but it's.
We're not AAA. We can say anything we want. We're indie.
Then it's up to the players, and each playthrough might not be the same. It's basically up to the player. All the clues are there, but you might not find them all, but they're there. So
yeah,
I guess
you can go through the entire story without getting the entire story. And there are actually going to be some choices in Draugen as well that ties into a similar type of mechanic. There's actually one really cool choice right in the middle of the game that I can't talk about. But now I'm doing the thing we hate doing. I'm doing it, but I'm doing it for their own good. Don't want to ruin it.
Okay.
But yes, we are going to bring. We really believe in telling. I mean, we struggled in the past with having player agency in stories and finding a way to do that. And I think we're managing to do it with Dreamfall Chapters. So it's definitely something we want to build on and continue going forward. No more questions?
Any more questions? Don't be shy.
Go to the microphone.
Hi, Jamil. I think they want you to go to the microphone.
You have to go to the microphone.
Hello there.
Hello.
With games focusing very much on narrative, as an acting student wanting to get into video games like voiceover work, what tips could you give to someone trying to get into this industry?
That's your table.
Do work on games. I mean, there are a lot of indie games being made, and if you have a good voice, offer your voice to the games. Get it out there. I mean, having credits is really, really important. We usually work through agencies and with actors who sort of have broad experience, and particularly with VO. It's hard to get somebody from film and TV to do voiceover for games. We've done that many times, and it's not always that great of an experience. So make sure you sort of get game experience. You understand how games are being made, and you understand that. So in the beginning, don't expect to make a lot of money from it. But as you establish yourself as somebody who can do voices, then there will be more work. But you really should just, I mean, that's how I encourage anybody getting into the game industry at this point. Contact indie teams, work with indie teams. If you're a writer or an actor or a coder or an artist, anything, just work with people. And then, you know, work will start to come to you.
Brilliant, thank you.
You're welcome.
Hi.
Hello.
Hello.
Are you allowed to comment on what that character is to the left?
Of course I'm allowed, because we own it and we own the company. But I'm not going to, though. It'll be a surprise. We have something cool coming up, but not yet.
Okay, thanks.
Excellent question, though.
Hi there, two quick questions. First one, what's it like using Unity for a game that's so big? Are you finding it hard, easy?
I'm finding it super easy. I mean, there are of course obstacles with any engine you pick, but our experience with Unity has been really nice. Been able to create the tools that we want. Been able to purchase some stuff of the store that they have. All in all, I think it's a very nice engine, and I would recommend it to people. If you want to get into game development, just pick it up.
But I know some of our artists have, I mean, we have massive environments, and we probably have some of the biggest environments in any Unity game. And that has been a challenge, especially with the 32-bit editor right now. A lot of crashing. But Unity 5 is going to have a 64-bit editor, so that should solve some of those issues.
We're spending a lot of time optimizing.
Yeah, and we do have our own tools optimized. So we do, you know, we have a lot of experience working with Unity. It's easy to get started, but it's hard. It's as hard to do really big stuff and really cool stuff in Unity as it is in any engine.
Cool. And second quick question, are you allowed to do a quick post-mortem on the secret world? What you think went right, wrong?
I don't think we have time to do that here. Martin, this is all. You can bother Martin in the bar afterwards.
We'll talk later.
He loves to talk about that.
Buy me a beer and I'll spill the guts.
Okay, thanks, man.
Hi.
Hello.
The Dreamfall looks crazy gorgeous for a team of 14 or 15 people. Just want to say that.
Thank you.
My question is, so in Dreamfall, there were combat sections, and you've said that chapters won't have combat. So how are you working with the pacing to give it those, peaks and troughs?
That's a good question. Yeah, in Dreamfall was a game that had some combat and stealth. It wasn't particularly good. People preferred the story and the adventuring rather than the fighting and the sneaking. So we removed those, focused much more on the storytelling. But I think you can see from what we showed here that there are ways to do drama without having to do combat. There are ways to give the story a nice narrative pace and drive, and that's what we're striving to do. There's a lot of walking and talking in the game.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very good question because it's to be quite honest, I think it's super difficult. Very often we've had this discussion, like it would be so much easier if we could just fall back on the combat mechanic and then just sort of that's how this section of the game is going to play out. But we're not, and we're trying to solve every single sort of situation in a unique way by trying to use lighting, trying to use sounds, trying to create these natural obstacles that would feel natural, but to be quite honest, it's really, really difficult. But we think that we're managing it at least.
But it doesn't mean that some of the characters won't use violence as a solution. There's still that option. There's no combat system, but violence is an option for particularly Kian at some points, because he's a man of violence.
Violence is an option, kids.
Okay, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Hi. Similar to the question before, will Draugen will there be combat in it where you can fight the enemies, or is it more the whole run and hide idea?
Yeah, it's the protagonist in Draugen is a man called Edward. He's an entomologist, and I don't know if there are entomologists here, but they're usually not that great at sword fighting and firing revolvers. He's much more the running away when stuff gets scary kind of man. But there will be times in Draugen where you have to confront something, but the way you confront them will not be necessarily through violence.
Yeah, and it's less of the jump scare and more of the scare of the unknown kind of game.
We're not going to have cats jumping out at you or monsters poking up. There is very little of that.
Even though we had the jump scare in the trailer.
We did that, but that's just to screw with you guys and see if anybody would actually jump in their seats. I think I saw a few.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hey, this is kind of for both. It looks as though you've got moral choice systems in both. How are you sort of working that? I mean, if I decide to play as a goodie for a bit and then I decide that's boring and I want to be bad, will that affect the ending? And what happens for players that don't want to just play bad or don't just want to play good? Because in other games, we're not catered for.
Yeah, no, we try to stay far, far away from moral choices. We don't want any of that. So some choices might seem like moral choices, but they're really not. Every single choice you make there's no way to know whether it's a good thing or a bad thing or what the consequence is going to be. We do not want to go the route of having badness points and goodness points at all. We want people to have to make choice based on their own reading of the situation and deal with the consequence of that. So there's really no sort of playing bad, playing good. It's all about playing you or playing as you would play it.
And that's in life in general, right? It's often you're faced with situations where there are no right answers, and the road to hell is paved with good intention. You're trying to do the right thing, but it might not be the right thing, but you just don't know until you make the decision, and there are a few of those, and that's just what we think is kind of interesting.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Ragnar, you mentioned that you read H.P. Lovecraft in your childhood. I was wondering what other literary influences you've had, especially in Dreamfall Chapters. It looks like there's a lot of kind of Sandman, like Neil Gaiman's work.
Neil Gaiman, definitely. I mean, the first Longest Journey was inspired a lot by a combination of Neil Gaiman and Joss Whedon. Always been very open about that. Swamp Thing as well, Hellblazer, a lot of comics. Edgar Allan Poe and H.P. Lovecraft stuff I read when I was a kid. I was a screwed up kid. I read Edgar Allan Poe when I was like 7 years old. No child should do that. Don't let your children read that shit when they're 7 years old. It's bad. But yeah, I don't know if your inspirations.
I'm not from the same inspirations at all. I mean, you're the story creator. I'm just a guy making the game.
But I read a lot myself, so I try to bring all those influences into our games. Yeah, and like I said, Draugen is also inspired by Norwegian fairy tales, Norwegian writers, Hamsun, if anybody's familiar with that, Russian writers. So there's a lot of literature in our games.
That's great. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Hi.
Hello. Hello.
Sorry. It's a really weird question. You have done a Journey Con in Oslo last year.
Yeah.
Are you going to bring it to other countries like the UK, for instance?
We hope so. We're going to focus on finishing Dreamfall Chapters because we have a lot of work to do, and then we're going to hopefully bring the fans together again like we did in Oslo in November. It was great fun. We had hundreds of fans there, and we're able to show them brand new stuff from the game. So yeah, the plan is to be able to do that in other countries as well.
Doing something like that would be amazing. We had such a good time. It was so good to meet the fans and just having a good time with them, and that would be great. But yeah, right now we need to finish the game first, and then hopefully we'll see you in the UK.
Well, we'd like to, because unfortunately I don't have the ability to go to Oslo to do it, and I really missed out. So I was just hoping you did come to the UK soon.
Yeah, no, we totally understand that. And the fact that 300 people managed to make it to Oslo was fantastic. They flew in from all over the world, and that was a really great experience for us.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for all your questions, and thank you to Ragnar and Martin from Red Thread. We'd love you to show a big hand to say thanks a lot.
Thank you. Thank you.
Our next session is Dean Hall, so if you'd like to go back out and re-queue, if you'd like to come along to that one, see you later.